Hey, how's it going, everybody? Um, there's this video I just saw, and it was, basically like kind of criticizing America's um stance on things. I guess there's this anime this person accused of rape, and like America's all upset, and they basically attacking like uh they're kind of just they have this very they have this lackadaisical response to America's outrage. Now, one thing I'm kind of irritated about is the lack of understanding they're two different places. One thing that's always been on my mind is like is taking into account history. Now, with Japan, I've always had this understanding that like they've gone through their personal business. They're like they're like the person who was like they're the nerdy type of person who's growing up, who's kind of like in that those coming of age stories where it's like they were kind of weak, they were kind of like unsure of themselves. They had like bouts of of insecurity, but now they've handled it. They've developed resilience and perseverance, and now they're walking confidently in themselves, and they're walking comfortably in themselves. They know who they are. America, I've always wanted to say is that it's like it was like this the bully type character. It was a person who used to walk really tall, but then it's like they have kids, and now they for some reason seeing themselves, and now they're going through identity crisis. And that's one thing I like to say for just in general is that like America is gonna grow, be shipwrecked, and us just trying to figure out itself. My issue with these criticisms in regards to like oh like it's like they side with America. I mean, I'm sorry, they side like these anime fans, they side with Japan, and it's weird. It's really strange to me because it's like I guess everybody has a bias and everybody agrees with aspects that are closest to them. But for me, I when they criticize the anime, Japan was like, "We Japanese don't have a problem with it. We're gonna keep making stuff like this." And it was like the person. I don't know. I didn't watch all the video, watch the whole thing. I'm probably going to after this, but it was kind of bothersome because it was like there's probably a majority of American anime fans. They're like, yes, Japan is ahead of the curve, and I'm like, yes, they are. And they say, well, and that's because they know what's up and they share our point of view. And it's like maybe not, because again, I say they're historically speaking, they don't have the same. It's not you can't make a fair one-on-one comparison between America and Japan. Controversial topics are not there like they as they are here, and I don't mean that it's not there at all. I mean just they're different. They have different issues that they use rape and false accusations and stuff like that. It's a talking point. It's probably something that's like, okay, this is an interesting part of the story. Another thing I saw, didn't watch it because culture like Japan and its likens to Chicana. I think that's Latina. Latina. And there they have based off like the comments. I only saw a little bit, and it was just kind of strange to me because it was like the person the person had these like the words these words it was basically the words meaning effing crazy woman, and I only know that because I know a bit of I know like high school Spanish, so it's like there's stuff like that where it's just like, oh, okay. And then her one comparison was just like, well, America do the same thing. They have kanji on their bodies, and it's like they just like the look of it. And I'm like, that's definitely fair. That's fair. And because people um they have that. It's and again, it reminds me of myself in terms of anime itself. Like I like what was being presented, but and also I like the music, like the openings. But would I be interested in actually learning what the heck they're talking about? There's a song from Trico called Bakuretsu Panesan. And I guess it's Mr. Penny's explosion or something like that. I don't know if it is intended to make sense or not, but I read the lyrics, and if you hear it and you don't care about the lyrics or even pay attention, you're like, oh wow, this stuff sounds great. Now you listen to it, it's like it has undertones of suicide. It has things like that, and it's very strange. It's not just strange, but it's like concerning because it's like if you just listen to it, it's like, oh wow, this stuff sounds very good. It's like, but again, like I don't think Japan in itself is like creatively speaking, is very interesting. It's not they not only have their own issues that they're focusing on, but it's like when it comes down to a creative approach and the successful ones that come out of that, they have a lot of creative now because they don't have any like negative conflict or historical conflict from what I can understand with other cultures that they seek out or the ones that have left that behind. It seems to me that they're just experimenting with a lot of things, and the successful people, especially the ones that are getting acknowledged here, like Trico, they play around with anything. There's a song I don't even know the lyrics to it, the translated lyrics. It's called Melon Soda, and when you watch the video, going back to this idea, it's just again, people think like America's going through these things and it's so unnecessary, and it's just like no, because it's like collectively a lot of black people who aren't really surrounded by whites, or if they have had experiences with them in those cultural conflicts, which need to be understood, and white people need to understand their own culture as well as Americans, if they're not immigrants or come from an immigrant family or are second, third generation, they need to see where they're coming from. They need to see um, like if America is your culture, if you're born and raised as an American, you need to see that. You need to see not oh we're human, because if you generalize things like that, you miss out on what culture is, what culture means, your expectations, the American privileges that you have. Now, people always say white privilege. There's such a thing as American privilege. You ever hear about you ever go to a shower or turning on lights and just have no thought about under a place under a roof that is doing differently, or even if you just got a place of your own, your expectation for lights and TV and technology is that typically it works, and if it doesn't, something's wrong. Something has to be wrong with the software. You know, it's like our expectations are so high. Like for instance, food. You know, we're not thinking about food expiring at the purchase or something. And again, I'm not trying to make expectations of other countries. I'm just saying that like there's just plenty of things we take for granted in America. We have privileges. Um, and again, I usually say instead of white privilege, I say majority privilege because inversely, the majority versus the minority is occurring in like South Africa, like post apartheid, where the whites there in South Africa, I'm thinking, I'm believing, from what I've heard, they're going through their own troubles, and the majority has their reasoning as to why they're oppressing the minority there. And again, I think it's similar to that. People say they are upset about tribalism, and I've heard Jordan Peterson speak against tribalism and things of that nature. And I think to myself that like America again, I've been saying this. America is a very special place, and I don't mean to say that lightly. Like it's so special. Itself from its cultural differences and such is that it's there's so many things that is currently happening. There are brushes with diversity. What does that mean exactly? Um, does that can you respectfully love your culture and include someone else, or um do you have to share your culture, or can you include your culture? And if you're including your culture, can you have have an authentic experience or authentic representation of a particular culture? If it's good, is it leaving people out? If it's not, how it is what's authentic enough? Do we reach that perspective no true Scotsman fallacy, where it's like the standards will never be enough to be a true person of color, or in terms of the representation of the media, or a true gay person, or a true person who's living an alternative lifestyle, or a true person of all castes. Like for instance, one of my issues with people who have problems with Black Panther is that they deny the culture significance. Now I used to sit here and say I was upset about them not looking, and I still kind of am because it's kind of unfair, but it's like I'm not as bothered because I understand it's a modern take, just like with Captain America. Even today, and also even with respect of Guardians of the Galaxy, they have their own issues and things, but they like at the end he had a piece of modern technology. It wasn't like he had a tape recorder and it's like, oh hey, here's a he got something called a Zoom. I haven't even heard of that, but he was like, oh, okay, sorry, your tape recorder broke. Here's a CD player, and it's like, wow, what's this? This is a CD player? Wow, that's new. No, they jumped all the way to a touch screen. That's a touch screen. Like I'm like, how old is Peter Quill? So both of these countries are very unique. They're very unique. Um, again, when I brushed over Japanese history about the Meiji era or the era the conflicting warlords, Tokugawa, Ieyasu. Um, I don't know a lot. I don't know a lot. I know I've seen a few things from Dynasty Wars. These are all video games and stuff, which is something I was super surprised with. Shout out to them because they're keeping their history alive, which is one reason why I was so surprised with Assassin's Creed 3. I think that was great. Because it's okay. I'm sorry. I have to go soon, very, very soon. But I'm just saying, like, when are we gonna make those hard choices? And also, when are we gonna make them as Jordan Peterson say, choices that are easy enough to make but very small and capable. So I think that's great. Like if we want to start healing our nation, we need to be reasonable with these levels of forgiveness. It's like the Bible says, like before you give your offering to God, go to your neighbor and tell them how you can fix it. And then after you do that, then you can present your offering to God. And I say that for everybody, even these Christians that who claim these political places, political parties. I really didn't want to talk about that, but I'm like, is Christ a part of a political party? I can't believe so. I can't think so. Um, but regardless, because I think he got both ideas from both places. He represents truth, and people have a bias that's leaning towards certain places that have truth and other places that don't. But that doesn't mean one part is absolute and the other one is doomed to die or doomed to fail. Um, but yeah, and also I can't stand it when the other demonizes the other group saying they're from Satan. I just think that's just complete nonsense. But yeah, just going back on it, it's just I get it. Japan has your similar point of view, but just because they do doesn't mean that Japan's like, oh yeah, we're down for you too. It's like no, they are in their own different cultural spaces and historical places too, where they're themselves collectively. Some points that we're dealing with, they've better overall is a very gross misunderstanding of what these cultural differences happen to be in the current time. Like for instance, females over there in Japan. I'm sure they're being not underrepresented, but I don't think that they're being positively represented as they would want. And at the same time, some of them are just kind of dealing with it, just kind of submitting to the fact, submitting to the nature of the play of the time. Um, like I saw that from Rachel and Jones video, but that was like years back. I don't know what the state is now. But about women's representation. But all right, that's all I got. I have to go. Um, we can't sit here and be ignorant and claim one country is better than the other. They're just at different places, and it's very contextualized. Very contextualized. I mean, imagine I guess